Hello everyone, this is Maryna Hritsyshyna and I want to welcome you to the next episode of the podcast Clean Energy Talks. Today we will talk about hydrogen offtake security with Khrystyna Kasyanova. Khrystyna is a green hydrogen business development manager in the company RP Global, a large-scale developer and operator in the renewable energy sector. In addition to this, Khrystyna conducts public activity. She is a head of Energy and Energy Transition Committee in Offtake, Ukraine. During these recent years, Khrystyna has been involved in the development of green hydrogen projects in Europe and South America. In this podcast, we will talk about hydrogen offtake agreements and in the EU and generally in global sense. So, Khrystyna, you work a lot with hydrogen projects in context of business development. And what is your opinion on the hydrogen sector on the current stage, and how has your view on green hydrogen development changes?
Hello, Maryna. Hello, dear listeners. Thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation. Thank you for giving this space for the insights sharing. It's really a pleasure to be here. And thank you for this question. I think it's very regionally dependent. We cannot answer to this question in one way. Clearly, situation differs, but I would say globally, I have experienced and I can see there is a slowdown both on green hydrogen sector and ambitions in green hydrogen sector. What do I mean by this? I mean, first of all, if we look into the green hydrogen projects, we can see that up to 6% of projects have reached FID stage. The remaining 94% are still at the feasibility study or early development phase, which of course gives us less chances for projects to materialize. At the same time, there are also projections from different sources that we are unlikely to reach our targets in Europe in terms of own production of green hydrogen and import as well. This has been recently published in the report evaluating results and current status of European Green Deal. And so I would say that there is also an understanding that very unlikely we will reach the goal in Paris Agreement. So some projects have been cancelled, some projects have been delayed. And of course, the reason for that is also slowdown in the ambitions on green hydrogen. When I say ambitions, I mean state support and regulatory frameworks. And why this is happening, I mean, I think we all know that geopolitical situation influences a lot this ambitions and regulatory support. Some countries really look now more into security aspects rather than energy transition. And for some countries, energy transition means return to coal. So here, I think we are at the end of hype environment. We arrived to the reality check phase. And I think for me, in terms of my professional change of path, I have realized and I have clear understanding that green hydrogen is a niche product. So it has a specific narrow application. Green hydrogen is not a solution for all the pains of energy transition, and it is feasible in some specific sectors. I think this is a challenging time, but this is an interesting time because it really gives the possibility for good quality and credible projects to move on. And for us, it's a time to really focus on technology, on economics of green hydrogen for those sectors where hydrogen has highest demand and opportunity.
Thank you for your reply. It's really a difficult time now from geopolitical and from other perspectives. I agree that in some sense we had hype in previous years and now we have slowed down in some way of hydrogen economy. At the same time, in the EU, we have targets according to the Renewable Energy Directive for RFNBO, renewable hydrogen. And based on these targets, the member states should implement their quotas by May this year. So, take into account that we have these quotas or targets on the national level. What actions have you taken to identify potential off-takers for your projects in the EU?
You are absolutely right, and this was the driver for our, let's say, off-taker identification start. So we firstly looked into those sectors that were intended to decarbonize in the first place. So CBAM, let's say, field falls into this area. We looked into the steel, cement, chemical industries that would bear the highest carbon burden at the end. And these are hard to abate sectors. Clearly, we looked into that. Firstly, we identified these sectors. Then we approached specific companies. We have established dialogue, spoke to them, and the answer has always been the same. Let's say if your product is cost competitive, if you have a good price which can compete with the price of gray hydrogen, we are willing to buy your product. And of course, this made us realize that, I mean, we need to put more effort into the quality of the project, into the level of maturity of the project to make it feasible for those industries that need it.
So in general, if we consider development of green hydrogen, I think the main barrier is highest price for green hydrogen. Where do you see the highest potential for green or renewable hydrogen based on your experience?
We look into the offtake in the following paradigm. We look into the existing application where, as I said, green hydrogen sometimes is the only solution. Yes, and these are hard to abate sectors. And then we look into new opportunities, new applications. So if we start from the existing and highest potential, these are, of course, industries with high heat operations. So for steel industries, this is operations of direct reduction iron. And in fact, this industry is projected to have the highest green hydrogen demand, up to 50% in 2050. Clearly, we have spoken actually both to the upstream and downstream supply value chain, because not only steel producers are interested in decarbonizing, but also the end users of the raw materials, such as automobile sector, they are also interested in decarbonizing their products. So the second application with highest potential, in our opinion, this is ammonia. I mean, we should look into the market of derivative of green hydrogen, green ammonia. And firstly, ammonia is a feedstock for fertilizer. So fertilizer is a 200 billion market, which feeds half of the population of our Earth. This is a big potential market, and clearly this will have a decarbonization agenda gradually. But even with the current production, this is very centralized. So there is a potential of making the product economically viable and substituting gray ammonia with green ammonia. At the same time, green ammonia, you know, it's not only a fertilizers feedstock. We definitely look into marine sector because of the European regulations and intention of International Marine Organization to reduce emissions by 20% by 2030. So ammonia currently, and together with e-methanol, these are two main green marine fuels. However, with e-methanol, as you know, the problem could be the biogenic CO2, and this is growing slowly, and different projections say that green ammonia could be on a full speed, let's say, fuel by 2040. At the same time, speaking about, as I call them, new applications, this is an aviation sector and sector of synthetic fuels. Again, being guided by European regulatory, there is a possibility to apply green hydrogen in production of synthetic fuels. And especially we look into the field of e-kerosene, where the plane and infrastructure does not require such big modernization. Basically, it can stay the same. And there is a big potential to create renewable refineries in this field. However, the price of, let's say, conventional fuels and green fuels is still differs a lot. So sometimes 4 to 5 times. And this price could be, let's say, could go down when we see more and more renewable energy sources intake into the market. And lastly, I would say we still should not forget that, yes, we target to produce green hydrogen at the place of its consumption, but Europe has limited land, different renewable energy sources. And in fact, it makes sense to export and import energy from other locations where potential is higher. So ammonia is still considered to be the best solid transportation means for green hydrogen from one continent to another. Yeah, that would be from my side.
I think it's very challenging topic, development of hydrogen sector. If I'm not mistaken, more than 90% in the EU now hydrogen is gray, and this gray hydrogen is not so expensive in comparison with low carbon or renewable. And you mentioned ESAF, also methanol for maritime aviation. These fuels are also quite expensive in comparison with fossil fuels. In your opinion, how can the price gap between gray hydrogen and green hydrogen be overcome?
Well, of course, in my opinion, this sector needs support, similarly like to the era of wind industry and PV industry. When these technologies were developing, we were we were receiving support from the state authorities. So I think this is the same for green hydrogen. We need basically subsidies, contracts for difference, premiums in order to compensate this price gap between gray and green hydrogen. And you're right, with different sources, the average price of green hydrogen currently is €5 per kilogram, which is not bad, I would say. But the projections that we had earlier, they showed faster price decrease. However, I think this approach in, let's say, closing this gap, it also could be different. As you know, in the United States, the focus is more on supporting production side where green hydrogen is produced, while in Europe we are, let's say, trying to push the demand side so that companies decarbonize faster and more willingly. And this is the compensation which could be done on the state level. However, I think this is the task and is a target of each project developer and owner to make the cost competitive product. I think it's the time when we really look into the economies of our projects, and only those, let's say, economically viable projects materialize. And what you have to do, of course, I mean, green hydrogen is a very location dependent project. So you cannot consider producing hydrogen everywhere. RP Global has a wide geography, but we do not do development in all the locations. So there's a very specific locations where you have to consider your renewable energy source and the hours for electrolyzer. At the same time, we should always think about technology that we select, so those technological partners and how we make the concept of our project. So I think that definitely minimizing the conversion processes will also contribute to the project economy. Those are, in my opinion, areas where the companies looking into green hydrogen production should look. But again, given that there is support from the state and a regulatory drive.
If you consider the current state of development hydrogen project, we do not have a real renewable hydrogen market in place. It's just everything on paper and our plan, strategy, and so on. And for this reason, it's quite difficult to predict also offtakers in this market. What actions would you recommend to companies aiming to secure green hydrogen offtake agreements based on your projects?
It's a good question, Maryna. It still remains the challenge. So offtake is the main challenge in the green hydrogen projects. I would say I would recommend developers to really look into the economy of the project and to understand what concept of the project you want to build. So selecting the right location, giving your electrolyte and the maximum full load hours. As I said, selecting the right technology or technologies combination. And at the same time, I don't think I will be new here, but I will say partners. Partners, this is an inevitable part of securing the offtake. Why? I mean, if we look into the projects that got to operational phase, I mean, there are not so many of them, but on the global scale, majority of them have some shares either of the off-taker or the trader or the infrastructure partner. So this is still a cluster approach where we need to find right partners. In my opinion, off-takers and other members should also take the risks. I mean, definitely the project developer cannot be the only risk taker. And there's a group of interest of companies that want to lead this project to materialization phase. In general, I think that this is an interesting momentum of transformation at this time of the sector. It's challenging, but as every transformation, this is a moment for innovation. And I think this is the right time to find equilibrium for off-takers, for project developers, for green hydrogen producers, and we really need to work together to put the things.
Yes, it's true. The partnership, cooperation with other companies maybe is the key solution for this new market for renewable hydrogen. Thank you very much for discussion of this very important topic. And usually we have the last question about your advice. Could you provide some advice for those looking for potential offtake agreements for a hydrogen project?
Well, I mean, my advice would be focus on the quality. Focus on the quality and make efforts and focus on the research, on the identification of your resource, your technology. This is where I arrived. I mean, at this stage when we are developing our green hydrogen project, it takes time, it takes effort to really make the project mature. But this is the only way to really make it in a solid way. So I would say quality of information, quality of your resources, technology, and the team partners as well. So that would be my message to myself and to those who would like to contribute maybe from this talk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maryna, for the invitation and for your contribution to green hydrogen, to sharing so many insights with us. I really enjoy reading your hydrogen blog, and thanks everyone for this dialogue.
Thank you.